like most of my the start of my career was performance based, but then I moved on to games. And as you know, like Crystal Dynamics was like one of the first game studios for me. You know, I came from VFX and feature and cinematics. Uh, but with Crystal Dynamics, there was a lot of physical stuff, so I had to like find ways to push my poses. And so I found a hybrid workflow where I still keep everything in spline, but I find one frame where all of my poses are, you know, super polished, uh, and then I start to layer stuff. And I found that to be a really fast workflow. So a lot of the stuff that I saw you doing is pretty much what I do. I also started doing aim constraints. I don't know if
Right.
you've seen Tuxedo Pato's workflow.
Yeah.
Like that's such a game changer, man. Like he does aim constraints on the cogs, on the chest, on the head, on the limbs, but he also does rotation order switching,
Right.
which I found to be for a very long time like challenging. But now with just focusing on rotation orders, you can polish any rotation order. Like any, if you need the Y just to be in Y, and you're in like in a really weird position, you can just switch it to that rotation order that has a clean Y all around, so you can really start to clean stuff up.
Right. So it looks something like this, where you
Yeah, yeah,
control
pretty
your
much,
cog
exactly.
from this aim constraint. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, how did that benefit you? Like the changing the rotation order. I never played around with changing rotation orders, but I did play around with aim constraints. But why do you change the rotation order?
So think about, for example, if the rig doesn't necessarily have like the rotation order you want. So like let's say your chest, right? If you look at the rotation order of your chest in gimbal, yeah. So let's see here, the Y, and if you go side to side, yeah. So is the Y going the whole way? Yeah. So the rotation order on this is pretty good, but let's say the Y is being left behind,
Hmm.
right? Or even the yeah, let's say the X, right? So you're blocking everything, right? And at
Right.
this point somewhere, like if you rotate into the side, yeah. So at this point, you kind of just want him to like bend on the chest, right? But the X is
Hmm.
left behind,
Yeah.
and you've done everything. So your Y is fine, your Z is fine, but you're like, man, I really need to get the timing or the polish on the X. So what you do is you just switch the rotation order, and what it will do, it'll just bake everything uh, as it was, but it'll give you that X in a clean rotate. So now, if you choose anything that has an X in front of it, yeah. So now you're able to like
I see.
polish the X. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So it benefits you in the sense that you don't have to uh, worry about two different rotations just to get one rotation.
Hmm.
And it's just for that little section that you need to clean up because yeah, like you can see right here, you're about to get a gimbal and you're like, oh, well, I need to switch back to what it was, and you can
Yeah.
just kind of like play around with it. The disadvantage is that it bakes everything, but you
Hmm.
can clean it up pretty fast.
Okay. So I never really hit that problem, because I always like I use these two things here called like the double knot and local and world. I just I'll show it to you in a bit, but like that does the same thing basically of without switching the rotation order.
Oh, is this like a child and parent type of thing?
Yeah, once
Nice.
this is like done, I'll show you what it does. So we have a question. How do you handle working with ones cleaning up curves when everything is baked? I'll let you answer that.
So I tend to work with buffer snapshots. I don't
Hmm.
know if anyone has used that, But yeah, if you yeah, so what I tend to do is I take the snapshot and then I just delete that area and I just bring it back very simplified. And then I have exactly, and then I have a ghost of what it used to look like. So sometimes I just delete everything and then I bring back the peaks and the valleys.
Yeah. Do you use weighted tangents to like scale these things?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
I only
nice.
work in weighted tangents. Yeah,
Okay. So I have a hotkey. It's Control A. It breaks the tangent,
and then brings it back. It
breaks
unifies
it
it.
back. It's
Yeah,
from our Aaron Carosel.
yeah, yeah. I have I've been using his scripts for probably over 10 years,
Right.
and
Yeah, I remember you talking about the buffer curves when we were
yeah,
at what was it called? Crystal.
yeah. Actually, I can probably show you something, but let me just proxy everything.
Oh, just be careful.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If you have like cubes, that's fine too. I don't want you to.
Yeah, I think if I put cubes, so let me see if I can do this.
So, guys, so I use these two here, the double knot and the world. So let's say I have a rotation like this, and I want a clean rotation. So I click this button, world. It just gives me a very like, you see like all of the rotations here are like 0, 0, 0. I can just like animate stuff like this, and then I can bake it back to the controller.
Actually, you know what? I can't because I just said the project that I'm going to work on.
Yeah, yeah, no
Yeah,
worries.
but I think like one other thing. Do you work mostly in the graph editor or the viewport?
These days I'm working mostly in viewport, but
Hmm.
generally like before this, like I'm experimenting with more viewport these days. So like I'm using motion trails to like
Okay.
control exactly what I see on the screen.
Yeah.
But graph editor, yeah, graph editor is a fast way as well.
Yeah. Let me see if I can like find something that I can show.
How did you animate those like walk cycles on Twitter on X? You did like a Godzilla walk
Yeah,
and then
that was finding a pose and then literally it was all layering. It
just
was just
layering.
copying and
Mhm.
copying and pasting the curves.
So check this out. Um, this guy, I keep coming back to this Cameron Fielding blog.
Hmm.
Um, if you go to Turok Animation Workflow,
Oh, that's an old one. Yeah. Oh my God.
he says something here really interesting, which let's see. I'm going to try to find it. Okay, so here it is. I can say I can say pretty safely for a good 4 or so years of my career, I would just animate straight ahead, not frame by frame, but I would just block very loosely between two main poses at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
Two main poses at a time, very loosely. This is like really interesting. Like this specific part, I was like, "Whoa, that makes sense. Like, why waste time posing out the fingers, the face, and then I would then animate to almost final between those two poses,
Yeah.
then move on to the next two poses until my animation was finished."
Yeah. And then what did he say? Did he switch his workflow later on?
I think he did.
Yeah.
Because I think this is like so many years ago. I think he went to
This is
DreamWorks
like
and
13 years ago, probably, or like
right, yep.
12 years
This
ago.
is like 2008.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Almost 20 years.
Yeah. But I was like, whoa, that makes sense. Um,
Yeah, I
So
wonder what
yeah,
the workflow is now.
do you use like animation layers?
No, I try not to.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, because you never get the. I get my philosophy is that because I'm so graph editor heavy
Hmm.
that I need the true representation of the curve to the motion, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, like to me, for example, let me see if I can just. I mean, I'll just do it on this block because I don't have a proxy rig.
Yeah.
But just do it for two. But usually, that's pretty much what I do. Is like I find a pose. You know, if you have an idle pose, whatever it is,
Hmm.
and you know, the end pose, which will be, let's say the guy is like, imagine that being the torso, kind of like stabbing the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could just do this, maybe. Then I can put this inside. Yeah, this is a 24. Let's do a 30. So what I do, like Michael, is that
Hmm.
I really try to polish the movement. So I'll find the pose, the first pose, the key pose, and then the last pose. And this is different than my workflow with creatures because creatures you can get away with a lot. You know, they're a lot more organic than people.
Hmm.
So the tiger sub that I showed you and putting it in space, that really works well with locomotion and works well with attacks.
Hmm.
But when it comes to like dynamic posing, when it comes to humanoid, I found that I really struggled with the poses after the fact.
Right.
And so what I did is like, okay, well, I need to find some type of a hybrid. So I started working on posing only uh, my key poses, and then
Hmm.
polishing that movement. So, for example, if I have this stuff, I'll try to get my timing correctly, right? And so let me see if I can, I'll try to get like
Anticipation.
anticipation, maybe like a backward one, and I'll start to sculpt it, right? So like maybe he goes back first, and then there's a moving hold here, and then I ignore everything else. I'll just start polishing the main driver, the main
Right.
mover. So,
Hmm.
and actually, I'll just mute everything else. So translate all these on mute. Oh, and the
Wait,
rotate.
so you just muted? Why did you mute?
Well, usually I'll find the poses
Hmm.
and get the timing right, but I want to just focus on my main translation, like the translation or the rotation that has the biggest impact on the entire movement. That's the stuff that I'm gonna like uh, focus on.
Hmm.
So I will build my anticipations, my ease. So let's just say it's like something that's a little more stylized. So I'll just get it punchy,
Hmm.
and then maybe
That's
there's
cool.
a
That's really cool that you lock those. Like, I never thought about that.
yeah, and I'll show you why it really like works out. So let's just say, and then he comes back a little bit,
Uh,
and maybe there's just a tiny bit of a settle. Okay, cool. So now let's just say this is like pretty nice. I got my ease right here, and this is sort of like a rough out because later on I'll come in and I'll block my ease, like exactly where I want
mhm.
to ease it, and then exactly where I want my action. And so when I revisit this curve, I know exactly where things are just by the anatomy of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I have this, and then I'll start to basically um, unmute some of it, and then start to build my arcs and overlaps. So for example, I have like a bit of an up here, right here, and then I'll just look at it against my Z. So it'll be like a green somewhere around here. It'll go down and then up just to get that overlap. So and if I need more on the Z, I know exactly where to pull and push, right? So
Mm-hmm.
somewhere around here. And so maybe I just want to push let me take a snapshot.
I didn't know there's a snapshot button on the graph editor like that.
Yeah. And then somewhere around here, I can put a key and then really like bring it up a little bit again
Uh-huh.
for that anticipation. And then let's say he's sort of jumping, or if I want to, right? So I have something like this, and let's say like the director goes like, well, I want him to do this, but then sort of jump and then land on the person, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's fine because I don't have a lot of keys. I can just reblock. So, for example, I have juge, and here, instead of going up, I'll go down and then just block that sort of bouncing ball curve.
Yeah.
So, for example,
How did you tighten that curve again? Can you show that again?
what?
Did you like squeeze it in the
Yeah,
Y, the bottom?
it's breaking the thing.
Uh-huh.
I'm
And you just
holding shift and bring it all the way
okay,
back.
got
Yeah,
it.
and so I'm just gonna refine that jump.
So, quick question. So,
Yeah.
the last pose that you had, if that was like a full body character, like how much would you pose out the legs and the arms and everything as well?
So I would pose everything in the beginning, and then I will hide body parts.
Okay, got it.
And then I would only work with my cog, my chest, and
Mm-hmm.
my head. And then I'll
Got it.
bring the arms,
Mm-hmm.
and then the legs will be like somewhere towards the end.
I see.
Because what really matters to me at this stage is like the staging and making sure that the poses really read well in the body.
Mm-hmm.
And so here, let's say I just want to like a hang time, so I'm just gonna pull this out, and I felt it. So I'm just gonna give this give this a bit of an ease. So
You're also comparing your curves like on top of each other.
yeah,
I
so
see.
I do stacked.
Stacked. Okay, that's called stacked.
Yeah, stacked is great for when, for example, like you have something like this, and you have to like zoom in here, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, well, but I need my Y. So if you
Mm-hmm.
press three, like everything's like on top of each other, and you can just really
Got it.
relate them. So here I'll get like an overshoot, and then maybe like this overshoot is like a nice sort of hang time, and he goes back to down, and a bit more of a so.
Mhm. Pablo has a question. So he says, so to understand, is that like a main pose to polish workflow? Question mark.
Is that a main pose to polish? Yeah. So what the philosophy is that you want to polish your timing and spacing first, based on my mentor and the same teacher that you took,
Mm-hmm.
Stephen, is that his whole philosophy is that polish that main curve, and then layer everything on top of that. The
And
problem with it
mhm.
is that it's really hard to find that main pose when you just do that. So the hybrid workflow is that you find your key pose and your other key pose and your third, fourth, whatever it is that you have in the scene. And then if you have any type of beats, any breakdowns that sort of really need that refinement, you can also throw those in there. But you sort of get them in there quickly, and then you start to polish those curves. Because what happens is that from a pose to pose perspective is that you put so many keys on so many body parts, and when you get to polishing and when you get to like splining, it's a nightmare, right? To deal with everything. I, uh, I still do that if the director wants it, and then I just go in, I do a snapshot, a buffer curve snapshot, and then I delete everything and I bring everything in a clean,
Wow.
simple way. Uh, but this way, for example, now that I have my up and down, for example, I can just bring in my rotate X, let's say unmute selected, and my Y. And what happens now is that I can use my Y against my X. So all of this, I can just look at the peaks and valleys of my Y, and I can offset my X. So for example, let's just say I'll just give this a little more room just so I can give you a breakdown of what the X would do. So for example, between here and here, I know that I can have a drag on the X. And then you can see that on stacked view, nothing happens. So I have to like switch back to one
Hmm.
and then
Oh,
really
and
get
do
it.
you have hotkeys for that?
Yeah. For what?
For like stack view and like regular view on
Yeah,
the
it's just
on the
one, two, three. That's Maya's native.
Really? Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't know that.
So for example, here, I can have them drag this way or I can have them drag the other way, right? But I
Mhm.
think I like this one, so I'm just going to flip it. So here also sort of like, so you can see the overlap. I can simplify it if I want to, or just give it that complexity, right? I can just go like this, and then again, I never want to align them. That's my number one like rule when I look at these things, and I just do it really quickly. Is that I want to offset them so they're either after by 2 or 3 frames or before. So here I can go 1, 2. So that's 2 frames, and I can see the effect that it gives me.
Right.
And do I like this better than this? 1, 2, right? That's up to you to interpret, right? So I'll just put it somewhere around here. 1, 2, great. And then he sort of gets ready. And then again, here I can just put in a key and then have that overlap. So oh shit, my thing just crashed.
Oh no.
No, that's fine. So I can go a bit of anticipation, and I can either lead with the head or just have this like drag, right?
Hmm.
So if I want to have a drag, this is fine. And then here when he lands with his like feet. And then I'm gonna give this a sharp corner. So that when he hits the floor, he's gonna get something like this. All right, this is a bit too much, so I can just like scale it down. Right, so he's like stomping on the guy, right? But I can also go, he's leading with the head, so somewhere around here, I can get it to the other side. What did I do before? This is going up. Yeah, so he's leading like this, or I can have him sort of jump like with his feet. This is a bit too much because no one will jump like that, and then land sort of like head first type of thing, right? Like he's stabbing him.
Mm-hmm.
But now I only have 3 keys to work with, so I can just really refine. Like, for example, here he's about to stab him. I'm going to bring this up. And then instead of that, he'll settle, and he'll settle this way. And that also gives me now, because I have my Z and Y sort of refined in my X, I can also just get the rest of them, right? So for example, unmute selected, I can obviously get my my camera uh, established, but just for the demo purposes. For example, he gets ready with a knife right here, so he's going to like go to the side, right? Getting ready like that. And maybe I want him to, here I can just play around more with the pose. So unmute selected, so now I can maybe have him lean this way a little bit, but you can see that I'm hitting gimbal. So I think your workflow would really benefit right here.
Right.
So, but for now, I'm just gonna keep it at this one, and then he sort of jumps, and maybe I want him to like really get in there, and then somewhere around here, I'm gonna look at my Y. Boom. Just gonna stab him.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at this, and this is sort of rotating up a little bit too much. So I can just scale it down. I can just take all of this stuff, and I have a hotkey to scale it down. I'm sure you do as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and it's pretty cartoony, but and it would be really nice to sort of like, when you're sort of like about to stab someone, uh, you sort of like lead sideways, right? Imagine like the arm right here
Right.
is lifted, and you sort of like lead with the body. So again, this would really be nice to do with a child control. But then what I like to do is take the head, for example, and again, this is more on the cartoony side, but you can use either EB Labs or
Basic rig.
yeah, anything that would offset things, and you can just start to offset, just like what's her name, Laura Lico.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just do it in. So for example, here, right? So that's a little more cartoony. Or if you wanted to lead with the head, I would just delete this
Hell
and
yeah.
yeah, take it a bit back.
That's really cool. I do something similar. Like when I teach, I say if you want to lead with a body part, drag it to in the timeline, drag it to screen left. Sorry. Yeah, screen left. If you
Yeah,
want to lag a body part, drag it to screen right.
yeah, exactly,
But it has to be world space.
exactly. Yeah. And so here I would just like lead this way with Z, and just decide where I kind of want his head to start to lead. So maybe somewhere around here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now you have like something.
got a nice
And the
timing.
cool thing about this workflow, at least to me, is that it doesn't take too long, and you're getting the timing and spacing in there. You show it to the director, and if the director goes like, I kind of want something else, it's like, okay, well, I just spent 20-30 minutes on this. I'm not married to it, so
Mhm.
it's not too difficult to get it out of the way and reblock it. Um, but for example, if I have that gimbal thing and I'm like, oh well, I don't want to get a hierarchy of a child and parent, then I can go to my translate X and sort of like refine these, yeah, refine these curves.
Oh, nice.
So here's sort of like hanging. Maybe here he sort of like snaps back a little bit, uh, and then settles. Let's
Feels
see
like
that.
the Attack in Troy, Brad Pitt's.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, and then I have another thing in my workflow is that, for example, I'm like, oh man, I really want him to just really get up in the air and just like stay there for like a dramatic hang time. I use EB Labs Retime. I don't know if you've used that one before.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and so yeah, I would put it would bake everything and destroy everything. But if this is like, let's say, a direction that you sort of are going towards, and let's say like you've been approved as a work in progress, right?
Mhm.
Then I would recommend. Let's see. Oops. I would recommend to use uh, the retime. So I would take this, take the head, take everything in the scene,
Mhm.
put it in a retime node, and then somewhere around here. Oh, it took it all the way here. Sorry, I'm not explaining exactly what it is, but I'm assuming you're familiar with this.
Yeah, I mean, for the viewers, this is just basically like a time warp,
Yeah,
which really, uh, Maya's time warp usually breaks a lot, but this one is just very solid.
yeah. So basically, you could do the same for whoever's watching is select everything and then take all of your curves in the scene, put a key exactly where you want to sort of like warp. So basically here somewhere, I'll put a key here, and
Mhm.
then I'll put a key maybe here,
Mhm.
and then you can go ahead and widen this area. So you can use these guys. So you can take this and take this, and then you can pull them. So that's also a retime. The problem with this is that it puts a lot of things in subframes. Although I heard someone told me that there's like a smart snap for this.
Mhm.
But
Why, like when you do it in EV Labs tool, it doesn't put in subframes.
well, with the EB Labs, it bakes everything.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
when you so like with this right now, like it's not baked. You're just dealing with one curve, right? So let's
Mhm.
say like you have a really complicated character with a lot of controllers, and you're somewhere where you've already sort of like worked things out and you're baked, and there's like 300 controls, and you're
Mhm.
like, well, if I select everything and I insert a key here and I insert a key there and I pull everything, like you could do that. But if you really want to sculpt your timing, this is a lot better because you're only using one curve, right,
Yeah,
to control everything,
yeah.
and so you can get really granular with those things. So, for example, oh, this is the time warp. Let me undo this and take these keys out. So for example, here I can say, okay, I don't only want to have this hang time long, but I kind of want this area to take 1 frame longer. So I'll just take everything and just drag it 1 frame forward. Cool. And then maybe I want this hang time, like let's say the director, or you go like, well, I kind of want this like extra beat, where he like nods his head, like I'm ready to like jump on this guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I will put these frames, and then again, just give it that time. So boom, maybe 3 or 4 frames, and I'll make everything linear. Because if you don't make it linear, then you're introducing new eases and outs. So this stays true to your performance.
Yeah.
Let's say here goes to and so it's not enough time. So you can see how easy I can like get the new timing in there. So, and then here I kind of want this to be really like stylized in the air. And then let's say when he drops down, I kind of want it to like snap.
Really snap it.
Yeah, like snap it a little bit. So I'll bring this 1, maybe 2. Let's try it. Yeah.
Nice.
It feels nice. So that feels super stylized, right?
Yeah.
And maybe actually I'll take this back 1 because I'm gonna push him a lot higher. And then when I'm done with this, I can bake it, and that's the disadvantage. Everything's sort of baked, but again, if I
Buffer curves.
and then I just buffer curve it.
Oh,
So
how's your
I-
dog doing, by the way?
Yeah, he's still alive.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
Wow. How old is he?
16 and a half.
Damn.
Yeah. So you can see here that I just deleted this, right? And again, this is why this. He probably told your viewers that bouncing ball curve is so important, right? You just want a really nice clean arc.
Yeah.
Boom. So now I get right.
Hell yeah.
And then I can, if I want to, I can also just take this and then just decide, hey, do I want him to face this way, or do I want him to like jump somewhere around here? Oh, this one. And actually start leading with his body, like Troy, for example, right?
Uh-huh.
So I'm just deleting freely. Like I really don't care about the keys as long as I get the performance I want right now. And the keys are very important, but you want it to be clean, but you can just resculpt everything. Right? So here, for example, now he's leading with his body, and somewhere around here, I kind of want him to like really go forward. Maybe also like down, and then shoot back up. So imagine like the arm is dragging back and his body is completely forward.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes, right?
Yeah. Nice.
So
And
as long,
that's the aim locator.
yeah, this is the aim. I mean, you could do it with a rotate if you have clean
controls the rotation.
rotations. But with the aim, it's like super nice because you can track the arcs of the aim, of the aim as well.
Right.
And I found that to be really useful. If you watch the Tuxedo Pado's demo on how he sort of like cleans, it's a really cool way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so you have this, right, and again, like it's easy for me because you know exactly where to hit these because the secret to all of this is like really offsetting. So for example, here I made the conscious decision to have them both in the same frame,
Mm-hmm.
but they're offsetting here so it could pop back up, right?
Yeah.
But you can see that here, for example, there's a nice overlap that's happening. And all it takes is just offsetting your peaks and valleys, right? That's the philosophy I
Mhm.
take on.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Have you tried using the EB Labs retime tool on like different body parts? Let's say you want, I don't know, you want the arms and the chest to lead and maybe like the head to be a different timing, and you just add them to a different uh
Sometimes,
yeah.
but I think usually I just do everything at once because I like to have sort of control over the curves whenever I can.
Yeah.
So for example, somewhere around here, let's say. And I also like, I don't know if you do this, but I also like to whenever I do these kind of things and I want a nicer ease, like a bigger ease, I put a key next to it
Hmm.
and then I drag it just to have like a almost like a moving hold, but like you just have like a really shallow ease.
This
And
is
then,
different than stretching the thing.
yeah, because when you
You,
stretch,
oh, okay. So you're
you don't
locking that in.
necessarily. Yeah, you're
Okay.
locking this in, but you're also getting like a when you stretch it, you get a really perfect curve, but sometimes
Hmm.
you don't want that like super perfect curve. You want
Right.
something that does this and then hits that pose and just ever so slightly moves, right? And it's hard to do it when you pull a tangent.
Hmm.
So here he like goes up. Hmm. So this is gonna be really snappy, and this is gonna be really like. So he'll go like, oh. So for example, I don't have a lot of time to do this, right? So I miscalculated the timing when I did the retime curve. So I'll just
Hmm.
go back and retime it again, and then I'll have that space. But for example, here I can maybe try to make it snappy, but let's see. No, I can't do it. So I would have to retime it. But I'll take that away for now. So he does this, looks, and then gets up, and then I'll
Like in
kill.
the future, are in
Yeah,
the future, would you be open to like creating your own course or like a video demo or something like that
sure.
to talk about this workflow? I mean, your workflow.
Yeah, for sure, man. Uh,
Let's do it.
yeah, I miss teaching as well, but yeah, I saw you like doing that. I was like, oh man, dude, check this out. This is what I learned. uh, and then yeah, and then obviously like you want to break it apart with some of the
Yeah, for the dead curves, you just delete it and
yeah. I have a hard key
drag it
to
up and down.
delete the dead curves
The
with
static
Animbot.
curves.
Yeah,
Okay.
Animbot has one, and it's faster than the Aaron
Mhm.
Crosell one.
What is your top three Animbot tools that you use daily?
Um, I use my temp controls a lot. The Animbot's temp controls because I like to also offset the pivots
Hmm.
and because offsetting pivots, for example, for weapons and whatnot. Um, have you used that one? This one?
Temp control. No, I don't use it.
Oh man, you can do it with locators, but for example, if I want to put, let me just uh, bake this one. If you want to put, let me bake this as that. For example, if you have an area where you want to have your pivot right here, like
Hmm.
if it hits right here,
Yeah.
you I don't know what you usually do, but the old school way is to get a locator,
Snap it.
get it I use this now, so I basically put the keys of this in the locator,
Hmm.
and then I parent the locator back onto the body. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But with this one, you just put it on world. So, for example, where's the controller? Where did the controller go? Oh, it's not showing the controller, but let me bring this back. Here, what you can do is take this
Mhm.
and let me see, show all. Where is the locator? It usually has a locator because I think I'm doing it on a piece of polygon, so it's not showing. But
Right.
you take this, it basically unlocks your. Oh, it's right here. It's just very tiny. And then you line it up to whatever you want. So, for example,
Mhm.
if you have a weapon and you want everything to sort of like rotate from the fingers, like your knuckles instead of your palm,
Mhm.
you would just put it in there, and then you click off screen, and that gives you that new pivot point. So,
And it's saved.
say it again.
It's saved in that location, the temp controls panel.
Yeah.
When you need to
So it's
select
right
it,
here.
you just go there.
So that's your new location now, for example.
Okay.
Uh, and then you can change it again if you want. You click it again, and you can change it to wherever you want. So
Mhm.
it's very powerful for this kind of stuff. Like, for example, if he like bounces off this corner, click off, and then it calculated this entire thing again. So now when he lands on the corner, boom, I can have him sort of like, and again, this is why I like clean curves, because now I can just say, I just want it to sort of rotate to the side a little bit, and
Right.
I only have to look at one curve the
Okay.
entire time.
So yeah, I do something very similar, but it's called not offset
Yeah.
in
Okay.
Pavel's. Basically, same thing. Yeah.
So for example, yeah, he'll kind of like do this
I see. Okay.
and come back, right? I mean, this is a bit of a ridiculous thing to do. But let's say he lost his balance, right? And I can really like sort of have a hang time, and then
And then you can maybe put a pivot on the other side, and you can just like boop, 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 like
yeah,
yeah. I see.
exactly. Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, yeah. Or it could just be like, whoop, whoop, right?
Yeah.
But you can really change all the performance with these tools, right? And to me, like when I started animating, even like 6 years into animating, I was like, baking is like the biggest mistake any animator can do, and it's like such a killer because now you have to deal with so many keys and you have to clean them. But now there's so many tools that allow you to clean them very fast,
Right.
and there's also all these tools that sort of like give you the advantage. Like these tools are way faster, and it's worth it. There's like a more of benefit with these tools when it's baked, when the character is baked, than when it's not baked.
Mhm.
You know, but there's also tricks like I think Makarowitz also showed things like, for example, if you do want it to sort of like pivot on a corner but not change like where the thing is, you want to do this and then back to right. And so like the thing that he taught everyone, um, when I went there, is like everything is mathematical. And what that means is that if your timing of this is let's say final,
Mhm.
just give it some more time. Then what you can do is just copy the curve of this, put it on your translate X, and invert it. And so now you'll have a one-to-one sort of pivot point. And if
Yeah.
it's not exactly, then you can just scale it up until it is. There you go.
Nice.
Uh, So it's just a quick example. Obviously, it needs a bit refining, but that's also a way to do it. To if you want to keep your keys clean and all that stuff, it's just one thing to remember.
Right.
Yeah, that's it. That was a quick thing of
Nice, man.
all the
Thank you so
stuff I learned.
much. It was
You
great.
got it, man. But yeah, so I did all my finishers on Lords of the Fallen 2 like this.
Lord, that's is that game out?
It's about to come out.
Let me look that up. I don't know. I don't know about Lords of.
Yeah, it's like a Souls like game. So there was a one Lords of the Fallen one, but the second one is like really nice looking.
Okay, check it out.
Yeah. Cool, man.
So yeah, thanks. Someone says he's a big fan.
Oh, nice. Big fan of.
Big fan of your workflow. I think.
Oh, thanks, man. Thank you. Yeah, it's just really simplifying everything, which is nice. It's super nice. It saves. I always tell my students. Well, I've been taught in like a while, but I always tell students, try to find the simplest way to do these things because you're gonna get to go home early, right? You're
Yeah.
not gonna have to. You're not gonna have to like really stress about. Um, I mean, obviously, if it's overtime, it's not good, but you're not gonna have to stress about like due dates or, man, I can't seem to get this idea out there, or the director wants like five different iterations or ideas. This gives you the tools and also like the strategy to work really fast in a production environment. And a lot of times, you probably know this, Stephen, is that when they teach you animation, they just teach you the principles of animation and how to block it the classic way, but they
Yeah.
never really tell you like, hey, when it comes to production, to the real world, they're expecting things to move a little faster, and that's why where I feel like a lot of animators that start in the industry um, burn out really fast. It's like, oh man, I can't keep up with anything. So it's super important to, even on X, like just finding animators on X. They talk about their workflow all the time, and I was animating 6-7 years straight, like I always do, and then I saw Tuxedo Pato, for example, and I was like, this is amazing. Or Liko. Liko had her own workflow,
Right.
and you pull little bits from here and there, and you sort of build your own workflow out of it. But it's always important to, at least for me, to like learn what the latest is, and if anyone has a new workflow, because I've worked with leads and supervisors and seniors who are like, I'm not going to learn anything new, and those are the ones that burn out. They quit, they get mad, they get complacent.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, man, well, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. So how can people reach you? Like take your classes. You're teaching as well, right?
No, I haven't been teaching for a bit, but I was thinking about starting to do it again. Um,
Hmm.
I just have to find the time. I think now I finished 2 projects, so I might free up. But
So
yeah,
guys, follow him. I shared the thing on the screen. I mean, we only have 8 viewers, but
sure, yeah. Thanks, man.
follow
Appreciate it.
Elon on X,
Yeah, and
and
I'm also on Instagram under Spline Pusher. It's
Spline.
it's like this Spline Pusher. And that's why I'm I'm gonna start posting sort of workflows and how I do stuff on Instagram, and I'm gonna try to do the same on X.
Yeah,
But you can see my kaiju stuff that I did, which was really
yeah, that
fun.
was really cool, man.
Yeah,
That was really good.
cool.
Dope. Cool, man. Thank you so much.
You got it, man. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
should. I mean, I'm gonna delete this, but I'm gonna cut that part, and then I'll send it to you. Maybe you can use it.
Sure. Sounds good,
Yeah,
man.
man. Pablo, are you able to see this on the screen?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This was
Okay.
really great. As a student, I struggle a lot with planning or just visualizing. Yeah, yeah. Really, really. Again, really try to simplify. Imagine spheres on everything, and just last thing that if you want, when I look at a body, I let's say, oh, that really brought it down on everything. So for me, I'll just do a new one. When I think of the body, I try to simplify it by breaking it into primary, and I don't know if you do the same, but I do primary, secondary, and tertiary. And so, for example, I'll just do this real quick, and then I'll put a just to drive this home. Yeah, and then two legs with the feet.
Mhm.
So the proportions aren't there, but it's just to illustrate the point. So I
Okay.
usually, and there's also the chest and the chest, and we got the hips, for example. So my primary things, or the primary body parts, are usually my cog,
Mhm.
my chest, and my head, and so those are usually super important when I think of everything as spheres. And then secondaries are usually the wrists or arms. So basically, if you work with IK, which I don't recommend working in IK when you're starting off animation, I recommend you start with the arms. In which case, this area becomes your secondary, because again, if you think about any type of action, your cog is almost always going to drive the performance, either your cog or your chest.
Mhm.
And what happens in the human body is that the chest always controls the arm. And so the arm, you can think of the arm as a child of the chest, right? And so whenever I block these things, I always worry about these. And I worry about, for example, when I say worry, is that I focus. I focus on the timing and the spacing, and really like make sure that nothing is dirty and broken in these. And then I can move on to the arms. And so when you start to clean stuff up, when you simplify that sort of order of cleanup, the hierarchy, the easier you'll have, the easier time you'll have when you're cleaning stuff up. Because I see a lot of times people jumping from the arm to the cog to the chest, back to the arm to the head to the arm, and I was like, oh man, I really want to like get this arc or timing on this, but you know, the chest is not refined yet. And so when you refine the arm and then you go back to the chest, and you move the chest, that's going to move the arm, or it's going to move the upper arm, and that means that you're in this like weird cycle of like fixing things back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Uh, and you'll save so much time if you just make sure that your cog is clean, make sure your chest is clean, make sure your head is clean, and then you can move on to the arms. So that's just a really important tip that I have for anyone starting off or even intermediates.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Cool.
Working outwards from the body.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Cool, man. Well, I'll be
Cool.
watching you, man. It's been fun to watch you just do these things.
Yeah, I'm gonna head out soon, but I'll end the stream soon. But I'll keep the recording up a little bit, Alex. Yeah, I'll keep it up for a couple hours.
Cool. All right,
Yeah,
guys.
man. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.